Kim Jong-un wants to meet. When do you want to meet with him?
With who?
You said the North Korean leader wants to meet. How soon would you?
Yeah, we want to have a meeting. I like to have a meeting. I get along great with him. You know, you were there. We even had a press conference. He had his first press conference. Kim Jong-un had a press conference. This was a little different press conference. I said, have you done a press conference before? No. And you know what? He did great. It was a great press conference, actually. It was historic. I doubt he's done one since. But I said, would you like to meet the fake news? Because whatever you want to do. And they came in like you've never seen anything like it. And then he said, enough. And that was the end of the press conference. That was the end. It ended very rapidly. But I think he had a good time. I look forward to meeting with Kim Jong-un in the appropriate future.
Would you reduce the number of forces in South Korea so that the United States could have more flexibility in the region?
Say it.
Would you consider reducing the number of U.S. forces in South Korea so that the United States can have more flexibility?
Well, I don't want to say that now because we've been friends and we're friends. And look, we have a lot of people over there. We have over 40,000 troops in South Korea. As you know, South Korea agreed to pay for that during my last term. And then when Biden came in, they complained to Biden that I wasn't a nice person. And he agreed not to pay. He gave up billions of dollars. We were getting paid billions of dollars. But then Biden ended that for whatever reason. It's unbelievable that he did. But we have a very good relationship militarily. They would say, but we gave you land. I said, no, you didn't. You lease us land. There's a big difference between giving and leasing. And maybe one of the things I'd like to do is ask them to give us ownership of the land where we have the big fort. You know, we spent a lot of money building a fort, and there was a contribution made by South Korea, but I would like to see if we could get rid of the lease and get ownership of the land where we have a massive military base. Okay?
Would you go?
Thank you, Mr. President. How are you planning to make? I also want to ask this question to Mr. President.
Who are you with?
I'm Song Mi-jin. I'm from South Korea's Arirang TV.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Good.
So, as mentioned earlier, the United States is South Korea's most important and closest ally. So, in this point of view, I would like to ask you and also President Lee, what do you think are the key ways to make the South Korea-U.S. alliance greater?
Well, I think it's great now. I feel very warmly toward South Korea. I will tell you that I have a lot of people in business that I deal with that are from South Korea. They love Trump because they feel I've saved. I think you would have had a nuclear war if I weren't. I think you would have had a nuclear war, North Korea and South Korea. I think it would have been a disaster. You're only 60 miles away from Seoul. They don't even need nuclear. They have their cannons, you know, howitzers, and they have them buried in the mountain. You know what I'm talking about. And I think you would have had, if I didn't win that election, if Hillary Clinton, crooked Hillary, won that election, I think you would have had a nuclear war. It would have taken place, and it would have been horrendous for everybody, including them. It would have been very bad for them because we would have had to enter the picture, and we are the most powerful nuclear country in the world by far. Russia's second, China's third. China's going to catch eventually, 5 or 6 years. They're working to catch. One of the things we're trying to do with Russia and with China is denuclearization. And it's very important. One of the things I discussed with President Putin the other day, it wasn't just that, it was also other things. And I think the denuclearization is it's a big aim. But Russia's willing to do it, and I think China's going to be willing to do it too. We can't let nuclear weapons proliferate. We have to stop nuclear weapons. The power is too great. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask you further question about South Korea and U.S. alliance. I'm Anna from the Korea Times, and I'd like to ask you about the trade deal that's on the table. You mentioned about the shipbuilding industry, and President Lee mentioned about the manufacturing industry. And what other areas or sectors that you intend to focus on this trade deal? Because Korea is bringing in many investments and trade jobs as well. So I'd like to know the opinions of both, how to get a beneficial outcomes for both countries through this deal.
Well, we're going to get along great because we really sort of need each other. We love what they do. We love their product. We love their ships. We love a lot of the things that they make. And they love what we have. We're dealing with them on Alaska having to do with the oil. They need You need oil and we have it. So we have a big advantage in that way. We have more oil and gas and coal and energy than any other country in the world by far. No, for whatever reason, God was very good to us. He gave us the greatest. We didn't use it. We started to use wind. Wind doesn't work. They started to use solar panels that took over the land all over the Midwest, where the farmers said, what happened to my land? They'd have a 10-mile by 10-mile solar field that they couldn't farm, the most valuable land, farming land in the world, probably the most vibrant in the world. And they put solar plants all over the place. It's ridiculous. Big, massive black fields of solar that all comes out of China, or plastic, all comes out of China. But we have the greatest amount of energy in the world, and we're dealing with South Korea, as you know, in Alaska, and we're going to be making a deal, a joint venture with South Korea. Japan is involved also, very strongly involved. So we have Japan and South Korea, and we're actually the closest. You know, it seems like quite far away, Alaska, but actually it's right up the little ocean, right up the little Pacific Ocean. It's actually pretty close, relatively speaking. But we have more oil and gas and coal than any other nation in the world by far, and we're going to use it. And that's the thing that South Korea, I think, most wants from us, I would think.
Mr. President, would you go back to the DMZ to meet with the North Korean leader?
Say it.
Would you go back to the DMZ to meet with the North Korean leader?
I loved it. Remember when I walked across the line and everyone went crazy? Especially Secret Service, I would say they were going crazy. And I looked into those windows, you know, the windows, the glass, that you could only see if you looked direct, because there was all sorts of stuff. But I looked in and I saw more rifles pointing at me than you could. There were a lot of rifles in that building. The Secret Service was not happy. You know the buildings I'm talking about? The two blue buildings on each side. And I walked up the middle and I looked in the window and I saw more guns in that room than I've ever seen in my life. I looked at the other side and it was the same thing. And yet I felt safe. I felt safe because I have a great relationship with Kim Jong-un. I hope it stays that way. I think it will. I have a very good relationship. I understand him. I spent a lot of free time with him, talking about things that we probably aren't supposed to talk about. And, you know, I get along with him really well. I think he has a country of great potential, tremendous potential.
Is it possible you meet him this year or maybe next year?
Well, I'm meeting a lot of people. I mean, it's hard to say that, but I'd like to meet him this year.